Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Developer Maroof. In today's lesson, we'll learn about DOM events and event listeners. Events are how we make web pages interactive, responding to clicks, keyboard input, mouse movements, and more. We'll learn how to listen for events, handle them, and create interactive features. This is what makes websites feel alive and responsive. Events are the bridge between user actions and JavaScript code. So let's start coding. I've already created our HTML file, and I have added some elements which are interactive, like button, boxes, input fields, and a form, so we can demonstrate different types of events. I have also added some CSS to make elements look good and provide visual feedback. You can see here, and here I have linked our JavaScript file, which is script.js. So first, let's start by understanding what events are. So events are actions that happen on the web page, like clicks, mouse movements, keyboard presses, or form submission. Events are user interactions, or you can say browser actions. JavaScript can listen for these events and respond to them. So let's start with the most common event, which is click event. There are two ways to add click handler. First, using addEventListener, which is the recommended modern way. So let's see practically. Let's say const output equals to document dot get element by id. If you don't know this method, you can check our previous lesson where we have covered all these methods. So let's put our id here, which is output. You can see here is our output id. We are targeting this element. So let's start with our first method of click event. Let's say our method 1, which is using add event listener, and let's create a variable called click btn equals to document dot get element by id. If you don't know this method, you can check our previous lessons where we have covered all these methods. So inside this, we can add our id, which is click btn, because we are targeting this one. Click btn, this is a button. We are targeting this one, click me. So now we can say click btn dot add event listener, and inside this we are performing click event. So in the first parameter we can have our event, which is click event, and comma our function. So let's add a function. So inside these function we can log our output. So for this we can create a function here. It will be easy to read. Let's say output equals to document dot get element by id. We are targeting output id, which is this one. We are targeting this, and let's create a function log to output. Inside this we can have our message. Inside this function we say const to create a paragraph. Let's say document dot create element, and we are creating paragraph element, and inside this paragraph we can add our text content, which we will get from our argument. And let's say inside our output we can append our child, which is p, to show this. And let's also log save this. If you don't know these methods, text content, create element, get element id, you can check our previous lessons. We have covered all these methods on that lesson. So let's call or invoke this function here, call to output, and inside this we can say button clicked using add event listener to see the output. Let's say this dot style dot background color, let's say back color equals to, let's say, green, and this dot style dot color equals to white. Save this, and if we click this button, you can see when we clicked it, its background color turned to green, which we have here, and its color to white, and we have seen our event appearing here, and our message button clicked using addEventListener we have put right here. So on this click event, no matter how many times we click it, we can get these results on clicking of this click button, which we have targeted by this ID. You can see we have console as well, which we have added right here. So this was the first method, which was with addEventListener, and let's refresh it. If you click again, you will get the same result. And if you want to use another method, we have the second method is using the onclick property, which is older but still works. Let me show you that as well. Let's say method 2 using onclick property, which is the older way, and let's say const click button 2 and equals to document dot get element by id, and target our second button, which is this one. Let's copy this id and paste it right here, and we can say click button 2 dot onclick. So this is our second method, and goes to our function. Inside this function we can log our output, call this function, and inside this we can say button click using onclick property. Okay, and let's change it text. Let's say dot text content equals to click. Save this. Now if I click this one, click this, you can see our text has been changed to click button clicked using onclick property, which is this one. And if we click this, you will see this message, which is right here, because we are targeting this button here. And you can see button is clicked shows when we click this button. So this is how click event works. I have used normal function. If you want to use arrow function, you can also do that. If you want to make an event on double click, you can also do that. Let's say arrow function with event listener, and let's call this first button the click bdn dot add event listener. Inside this we have a property called double click, ddl click, comma our arrow function you can add, and let's log our output. Let's say double clicked. Save this. Now if you double click it, if you click first time, let's click it, you will get this result because we are getting on first click these results because we have put an event called click. If you double click it, you will get double clicked output. If you double click, let's say if I come here, refresh, and if we double click, you can see we are getting our double clicked message as well. So this is how click event works. Now let's move to mouse events. Let's comment these out, and let's add a comment mouse events, create our variable called mouse box equals document dot get element by id. Inside this we can put our id here. Let's see our id. We have mouse box id. Let's put it right here, and let's first see when mouse enter, or you can say if we hover, we want to let's say highlight this, or we want to see our output here. So we can do it with, let's add a comment first, mouse enter, and target our mouse box dot add event listener. Inside this we can have our event. Let's say we have an event called mouse enter. This is our event, and let's create our function, what we want to do on that event. Let's say we want to change or add this class, this highlight class, which we have added right here to make it yellow. So let's do that with this dot class list dot add, and inside this we can have highlight class, and also let's log our output. Let's say mouse entered the box. Save this. Now if I hover over this box, it becomes yellow and we are getting our output here. So what this event is doing, when mouse enters, it fires this function when mouse enters on that element, which is box. You can see whenever I hover over it, we will get output, and this is only on hover. If you want to add any function or an action on mouseleave, when we do this mouseleave from the box, we can also add any function or add that event. Let me show you that as well. Let's say mouseleave. So first let's target our box, add event listener. Inside this we have an event called mouseleave, and let's add our function. So what we want to do on mouseleave, let's say remove that color, that yellow color when we hover, or when we enter our mouse, it will change it to yellow. So let's say this dot class list dot remove, and remove this highlight class, and also add our output, mouse left the box. Let's save this. And you can see when we hover, we are triggering mouse enter event and that function called, and we are getting below. And when we leave, our highlight class have been removed and we got our output here, mouse left the box. When we hover, when we leave, you can see it is now interactive. And if you want to add any actions on mouse move, you can also do it with our mouse move event. Let's say on mouse move, we can say const, let's say mouse box 2 equals to document dot get element by id, and our mouse box 2, which is this one, and let's add a count first, move count, to see our moves, and let's target this mouse box 2 dot add event listener. On that mouse box 2 we add a mouse move, and we want to do, let's say function, we want to target this function when mouse moves. What inside this function we can do, move count plus plus. Let's increment this move count when mouse moves, and let's add a condition if mouse or move count, let's say modulus 10 equals 0, and inside this we can log our output. Inside our output you can say mouse moved, and let's add our count here times. So what this condition is saying, that it will log our output every 10th move to avoid spam. So let's see, if we come here, if we come inside this box, if we move, you can see we are getting outputs 10 times, 20 times, 30, 40, 50. And when we move again, you can see it is keep increasing when we move our mouse inside this box. See? So this is how you can add event or functions on this mousemove event. And if you want, you can also add any function on mouse down or mouse up events, like pressing the mouse, clicking and releasing the click. So first let's say mouse down and up, and let's target our mouse box, our first box. Let's add an event listener, and let's say we have a mouse down which is on click. Let's say inside this function we can say change its background to red, style dot background color, and make it equals to red. And we can log our output saying mouse button pressed, and let's add our second event on mouse leave or mouse up, which is when we click and release. On that release, it will call this function. And on release, we can change our style background color to, let's say, light blue. And we can log our output saying mouse button released. See this? Now, if you see, when we hover, you already know the function we have added on mouseenter will fire. And when we mouse down or click and hold, it will become red. You can see now on mouse down event function is fired. And when I release the click, it will turn to light blue. You can see it has turned to light blue, or if you want, you can make it blue as well. Let's say click, leave, it becomes blue, click, leave, becomes blue, and we are getting our outputs here. So that's it for mouse events. I think I have covered all important mouse events. You can try it out on your own for more. There's a list of events. So now let's learn about keyboard events. Keyboard events. And let's first target our element keyboard input, and equals to document.get element by ID. Inside this, we can target this one keyboard input, which is this one, to see our keyboard events. Paste our ID here. Now we are targeting this input field. You can see I have organized all our HTML separately, so it will be easy for you to understand all the events. These are for click events. I've already shown you that. We have also covered this mouse events. Now we are on keyboard events. Then we will move to this and this. So first we have an event called keydown, which is pressing the key. So on pressing the key, let's say keyboard input.addEventListener, and we have an event called keydown, which is press any key, and we want to call a function. Let's say event, and inside this function we can log our output, and let's add a backticks because we will use that event inside this log output function to print our message with our data. Let's say key pressed. So which key is pressed? Let's add event dot key, and let's see the event code. Let's say code is $event dot code, and see this. Now if you click here and type, let's say I'm typing M, you can see we have clicked M key because I have pressed M on my keyboard, and code of that key is key M. When we click A, you can see, or OOF or OOF, you can see we are getting our keys here. So whenever I press any key, it will be printed inside this output. So this is how you can put any action on pressing the key. This is just for press or key down. If you want to add any action on key up, like pressing, and when we remove that press, we can call any function. Let's say on key up, we are targeting keyboard input.addEventListener, and inside this we can have our key up, our function. And inside this function, you can have event and log our, or let's say put a condition if event.key is equals to enter. When we click the enter key, then log our output. Let's say enter key pressed. See this? Now if you come here, if you put mouseup, now if I press enter, let's say enter, you can see enter key is pressed, because when I enter the key and press up, like removing that enter, it gets me that message. Let's come here, enter, you can see we are getting enter key pressed only one time. So that's it for key up. Let me show you another event called key press. Key input dot add event listener. Inside that we can put key press event, and inside this we can just log that output and say key, or let's say character type, and let's add our key. See this? Now if you press mouseup, you can see we are getting MA. So this is the second way you can get our keys. And we have another event called input event, this input event fires when we change the input value. Let's keyboard input addEventListener. Inside that we can add input event and our function event. Inside this we can log our output. Let's say input value event.target.value. Let's keep it that. So now if I put JavaScript, you can see we are getting JavaScript. You can see whenever we change our value, it is getting us our character by character, our full word. So these were the few events of keyboard which will be useful for you whenever you create any projects or for the forms, inputs, etc. You can use that. So now let's move on to our form events. So forms have special events we need to handle. First, let's target our form. Const my form equals to document dot get element by id. Inside this we can have our form id, which is this one. If I show you, here is our id. And let's say const form input to target our form input. Let's say input equals to document dot get element by id. Inside that we can put our id of that input. This is its id. And let's say we have an event called submit. So on form submit, let's say my form dot addEventListener. Inside that we have an event called submit, and on that submit we can call this function, and we are getting our event. And let's first prevent our refresh. Let's say event preventDefault. So this is for preventing our form for submitting. And let's log our output. We can get an output form submitted with value. Let's get our value here, form input. Whatever value we put inside that input, we can get it with value. And let's then clear our form when we submit successfully. Let's remove that or empty that field, that input. So now if I put, let's say, mouseleave here, I click submit, I call this submit event on that submit, and our field has been empty again. When we click this, it comes here, it prevent the refresh, because if we don't put that event.preventDefault function, the page will refresh. We don't want to refresh, so I have added this event.preventDefault function. Then it comes here, it gets us output form submitted with value mouseleave here, you can see. And it has then empty our form input, which is this one. You can see now it's empty when we submit it. And we have another event called form focus. Let's see focus event. And inside this we can say form input. We are targeting our input because focus comes when we click this input. You can see this blue border is a focus when we click this. If you want to trigger this, let's say form input dot addEventListener. Inside that we have focus event, and we can add our function. Inside this function you can change our border. Let's say increase our border to this dot style dot border equals to 2 pixel solid blue, or let's say red, and log our output input field focus. Save this. Now if I click this, so first we should refresh. We click this and let's say blue. You can see we are getting our input field focused output here, and our border is increased to. So this is how focus event works. And we have an event called blur. So that event called or fires when an event loses focus. Let me show you that as well. Let's say blur event, target our form input dot addEventListener, our blur, and call this function on blur event. Let's change our border style dot border equals to, let's say, 1 pixel solid. Let's say this, and log our output input field blurred. Let's click this. We call our input field focused. Then if we lose focus, you can see our border has been changed to this gray color. So this is how blur event works. And we have a event called change event. So that change event fires when the value changes and the element loses focus. Let me show you that as well. Change event. Let's target our form input dot addEventListener. Let's add our event change event function. Inside that function we can log our output. Let's say input field changed, or let's also add a value. Save this. So whenever we change this input, let's say mouseleave, and lose our focus, you can see this input field changed to mouseleave as fired. So this is how change event works. So I think that's it for form events, because these were only the most important events you will use. There are many others. You can try it on your own. Now let's move on to event objects. So the event objects contain useful information about the events. Let me show you how many informations or how to get the information from our event. Let's say event object, and let's add a click button btn dot addEventListener, and on click we can have our function event inside this, or that click. First we want to trigger that, let's say for that one, this click to see the events. Let's put it here. Let's open our console because we want to see that information inside our console. And let's add some logs. Let's say log. First we have our event, which is a full object. When we click this, you can see we have event object. It has tons of properties. The most common are the key, event dot, let's say we have a type. When we click this, you can see the type of that event. We just click because we are clicking it, so that click event type fired. And we have event target, we have event current target, we have event timestamp, we have event dot. So when you add dot, we have tons of events. You can try it on your own. We have client X, client Y. Let's say client Y. Save this for now. That's, I think, enough. Let's click that button. You can see we are having our type, our target. We are targeting this button, and we have current target. We have targeted that button, and we have timestamp. We have client X, client Y. So the event objects gives us access to all event informations. You can try it on your own. So I think that's it for event object. And now we have a concept called event propagation. So what event propagation means is when event bubble up from child element to parent elements. This is what event propagation means. So let me show you that practically. Let's say const container equals to, let's make container document dot get element by id, or let's say document dot query selector, and let's select our body element where our all information exists. Let's target container dot add event listener. So inside that we can click, on click, fire this function, get our event, and log our output. What output we want to get? Let's say click bubble to body, and target our tag name. Let's say event.target tag name. Tag name. Now let's save this, and when we click anything, click here, you can see we are getting click bubble to body target h2 because we have clicked here. So this is h2. When we click this h1, you can see we are getting h1. If we click this button, we have targeted the button. If we click this box, we have targeted that div because this box is a div. If we click this button, so form refresh, so we can't get any log. If we click this input, you can see we have targeted that in. So this is how event propagation works, and you can also stop that propagation. Let's say propagation, and let's say const stop prop button, so btn, and equals to document. Let's create that button dot create element, and this is a button element, button, and let's say stop propagation button, and dot text content is stop propagation, and let's add stop prop btn dot add event listener. On clicking of that button, we can see event, and let's stop event dot stop propagation function. So this will stops event from bubbling, and let's log our output. Let's say propagation stopped. Oops, I have just added these ones, remove this, save it. And after that we can say document dot body, say body dot append child. So we want to append that button to see it, and append that button. Save this. You can see we have added this stop propagation, and when we click anything, we are getting this. Now propagation has stopped. We click this again, propagation has stopped. So this is how you can stop propagation. And if you want to remove any event listener, you can also do that. Let's first comment it out, and let's move on to our remove. Let's say removing event listeners. So first let's say the named function for removal. Let's just create a function called function handle click, and inside this we can log our output. Let's say this listener will be removed. Okay, now let's create a remove btn button. Let's create that button, document.get, oh no, sorry, create element and create that button. Now add some text, say text content equals to click to remove listener, and let's add an event on that click. Let's say remove button add event listener, our click event, and this is a function we want to call on that click. And let's append that to see my append child and remove button. You can see we have our button here, and if we click this, you can see this listener will be removed. We call this one. So this listener has been removed whenever we click this. If you want to remove that after 3 seconds or any time, let's say set timeout, and inside that we have a callback function, put an arrow function, sorry, and inside this we can say remove button dot remove event listener. Inside this we have a click and we have this function, and let's log our output, which will say listener removed after 2 seconds, but I want to make it 3 seconds. And let's remove button and text content equals to listener removed, and we can put our timer here, let's say 3 seconds. And if we click this, you can see after 3 seconds, listener removed after 3 seconds, and our text has been changed. So this is how you can remove our event listener. Note, we need name the function to remove our listeners. So let's now comment it out, and let's move to our final concept, which is event delegation. Event delegation. So what event delegation is, it lets us handle events on multiple elements efficiently. Like instead of adding listeners to each item, we add one to the parent. Let me show you that. Let's add a const. Let's say dynamic list equals to document dot get element by id. Inside that we can have our list. Let's see, we have our dynamic list. Let's copy this ul inside this strings, and let's add dynamic list dot add event listener. Inside that, on click of that ul, we can call this function. Let's get our event. Inside this we can put our condition here, event dot target dot tag name. If the tag name is equals to li, which is list item, so then do event.target. Let's change its background style dot background color equals to, let's make it yellow, and let's log our output, item clicked, let's get our text content. See this, and when we click this any of these list item, you can see our list item background has been changed. Let's refresh this. If I click this item 3, its background has been changed to yellow, because when we click this, it sees which tag name is this one. It is li, so it is checking if it's li, then do this. So we are getting yellow here, and our output is this. It is list item 3, so we are getting 3. If we target this, it's list item 1, and we are getting all of our output here. If you want to add a new item, you can also do that. Let's say add new item, items, dynamic, so dynamically, and let's say const add item button. Let's target that button document. Let's make it equals to dot get element by id. Now let's see what's its id. It's add item button. Put that id, and let's make it let's item count, and let's target this item button dot add event listener. On click of that event, we can call this function. So inside these function, we can increment our count. So whenever we click it, we create new list items. So first, let's say new item. We want to create our list document dot create element, and which element we want to create? We want to create li, and we can target this new li. Its text content equals to item, and add the number. Like if you want to click add new item, it will see 4, then we already have 4, then click increment, then 5, like this. And let's say click me, and now we will have to append that event child and child new item, and log our output. Let's say added item and our count. See this, Now, if I click this, we are getting 5 because we already have 4. Let's make it 3 so it will look proper. Let's click that. We are getting item 4. Click me. We click again. We have item 5. You can see the log as well. Click again 6. Whenever we click it, we can add our item dynamically, and you can also select that. So new item automatically works with the parent listener. So that's it for today's lesson. We just learned about DOM events and event listeners in JavaScript. Events lets us respond to user interactions like clicks, keyboard inputs, mouse movements, and form submissions. addEventListener is the modern way to attach event listeners or event handlers. Event delegation lets us handle events efficiently on multiple events. The event object provides useful information about what happened. Events are what makes web pages interactive and responsive. So in the next lesson, we'll learn about forms and user input validations. We'll build on what we learned today to create robust form handling. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone learning JavaScript. Jazakallah khair for watching. Allah Hafiz.